Hello, my name is Grian, and today I'm going to be showing you a bunch of tricks and tips based in the new update of 1.9. So as you can see, I've got a big long line of things to show you, but first I just want to go over what sort of took my fancy and sort of inspired me. So the first thing is obviously the new mob, but it isn't really just a mob, it's also a block, so I came up with something with that, which we'll go over later. We got these new plants, which are really weird because the way you place them, they explode and it's really awkward, so I didn't actually come up with anything, but I'm sure something will come to me in time. Moving on to the things that really did sort of captivate me were the end rods. Now these are wonderful. Never in Minecraft have we had anything quite as thin as this, and they also did this to like iron doors and also the glass panes. So a whole bunch of ideas came to mind when I was looking at these. In addition to this, we also have the Ender Dragon heads. Now I wasn't really sure how to use this, but interestingly, they sort of yap and yap and yap if you put a redstone circuit to them. So maybe something can be done with them. Wasn't too sure. Now, next we have a new type of block along with some staircase, the purpur blocks. Now that's really weird. They are an odd color, odd design, and quite frankly, they're not the most attractive thing I've ever seen. However, they did come in use for one thing, as we'll go over later. We've also got the endstone bricks, which I was really disappointed to find out they didn't add staircases for, but I did find a use for them. Now this was a change to trapdoors. Now we no longer need barrier blocks to make them float, so a bunch of ideas came to mind with that, and you can just place them on top of each other and close them. It's fairly easy to use, and then you can just get rid of them. You know, they really did change them for the better. And we have, of course, the awesome addition of the path block. Now all you have to do is hit grass with a shovel and it creates a path block. Now what I really enjoy about this is the different colours you can create. Now not only is a path block going to be useful for pathing itself, but I'm sure we can come up with something that will just enable us to use this in a different way, although nothing springs to mind just yet. So those are all the changes that sort of interested me in terms of building, so let's get into some of the innovations. So the shulker is a very interesting mob, mostly because it acts like an actual block and it moves up and down. So my initial thought was, for a map making purposes, that you could have a room that you walk through and it will interrupt you as you walk just because of the height of the ceiling, and I thought that was a really interesting mechanic. It does like to glitch out if you get caught, but I thought it could be used in some regards to that. Next we have the purpur blocks, used in a sort of space prison kind of way. They're rather unsightly blocks, but the end rods can be used in a prison manner. However, you can walk straight through them, so for that purpose they don't really fit, but it does look like a cool little laser beam thing. Next up we have the trapdoors, which I thought could be used as a very rudimentary door frame. Now they are the only blocks that will stand up that way. I've always wanted a slab that would stand up, but that looks like the closest thing we're gonna get. So maybe if you retextured them in the resource pack, you could get a really nice looking block. So that's what sprung to mind with that. Next up we have coloured tables. Because of the glass pane changes, when you place one on its own, it is much like an end rod. So if you put a carpet on top, you can get a very Google-like table. Like if you made a Google office, that's what I'd use. And similarly, you could put a trapdoor on them to make them look like a nice little chair at a saloon or whatever, just as an alternative to using fence block, which of course is what you would use in that situation. Moving on, but also staying on topic of the glass panes, the chandelier will have changed. Now normally I would use just glass panes for it, but because of the change that they've made, my old chandelier design doesn't work as well as it used to, so I thought instead of that, why not add some upside down end rods to sort of simulate the little glass shards that normally hang down. Now they do sparkle and the purple makes it look a little bit out of place, but I think the effect works. Now it does look a little bit silly because of how it's placed, but in a situation in a grand hall, I think it would fit in just fine, and they do give off light, so it's a win-win. Next up we have a rather odd looking hut. This uses the new block. This is what I was talking about. Now it does clash with sandstone a little bit, but because there is no half slab or staircase block, it does make it a little bit difficult to work with, but I thought it makes a pretty good little hut to put in a desert situation, especially if you just needed something that looks really run down in the middle of the desert, maybe a map maker or something like that. I think it fits quite well in there. Next up we have a bathroom, just a normal design, but I thought one use for the purple blocks was a really nice looking floor. It does look a little bit out of place, the pink blocks, but it does work well in a bathroom situation, and you can see that I used the end rod there just to hang the light from. Just a little use for that block. Now next up, everyone should know this trick if they are familiar with 1.9. You can use a boat on ice to make it go super fast. But I thought, I'd include this anyway because someone might get super inspired to create some sort of mini game using these boats, like a race course or something. You map makers are insane, so I thought I'd include it just to sort of prove a point. I think that it could be used really well. It has a really nice sort of drifting effect. So if anyone out there gets some inspiration from that tiny little snippet, they are really difficult to control, so you might come up with something really nice. Next up is probably the highlight of the video. Now, this command block was kindly put together for me by Epic Melon from Team Wooloo. Now, this creates a tent. Now, the tent is made using command blocks, and I will link the command block down below. Now, when I saw shields for the first time in 1.9, I thought, wow, if you put these together in a cone shape, you could make a really nice tent. But of course, I'm not a wizard, so I had to ask someone to do it. Okay, so that didn't work. I've moved the button now, so it works. And this is what the command creates. A tent with the inside looking a little bit funky, but you can put like 2 pillars of fences either side to sort of support them. And Epic Melon has even kindly included some colours for the tent, which I think is really cool, so you can actually go in chat and click which ones you want. Again, the command will be left in the description for you to use if you wanted to make them. This is just what I thought would be cool. These are of course made using invisible armor stands, holding them in the correct position, but if you're really clever, you can like change the angle and you could make like a little camp using those tents just based on that idea. I thought that was cool, but that's it. Those were the ideas that I came up with for 1.9 building tricks and tips. I thought there wasn't too much, but just enough to sort of make a video on. Maybe something I said spurred you on to think, oh wow, I could use it for this or that. I'm all ears. If you came up with an idea based on what you've seen today, I'd love to hear about it because I'm always happy to hear about inspiration of just different ways of using the blocks, especially these new ones. The biggest change for me is the end rods and the iron fence along with the panes. That change in shape is massive for me because that just changes everything. I use the cobblestone walls and the fence blocks so much that just having one ever so slightly thinner, even if it's a slight change in color, it's going to make a huge difference. Anyway, that's it from me, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I know there's been a lot of hype surrounding 1.9, but I thought I'd chime in with some building related content, as I always do. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.